Welcome to Wikipedia to fall asleep to. Settle in, breathe slowly, and let your thoughts drift as we wander together through Paul Kerrigan. Paul Kerrigan. Paul Kerrigan is an Irish Gaelic footballer who plays for Cork Premier Championship club Nemo Rangers. A member of the Cork senior football team for 13 seasons from 2008 until 2020, he won 7 major trophies in his inter-county career, including the All-Ireland Championship in 2010. Son of Jimmy Kerrigan, a 2-time All-Ireland medal winner with Cork, Kerrigan began his career at club level with Nemo Rangers. He joined the club's senior team as a 17-year-old in 2004 and has since won 5 Munster Club Championship titles. Kerrigan has also won 10 Cork County Championship titles from 11 final appearances. Kerrigan lined out for Cork in 3 different grades of Gaelic football over a 17-year period. After making his first appearance for the minor team in August 2003, he progressed onto the county under-21 team with whom he won an All-Ireland under-21 championship medal in 2007. Kerrigan made his competitive debut for the senior team, aged 21, in 2008. His debut season yielded a Munster Championship title. The following 4 seasons saw Kerrigan win 2 more Munster Championships, 4 successive National League titles across 2 divisions, as well as an All-Ireland Championship title. Playing career. Nemo Rangers. Kerrigan joined the Nemo Rangers senior team for the 2004 Cork County Championship, but was an unused substitute for the year. He made his championship debut on 17 September 2005 in a 0-17-0-0-6 win over St. Michael's in round 4. Kerrigan ended the championship with a winner's medal after coming on as a 25th-minute substitute for Joe Kavanagh in the 1-14-1-0-7 defeat of Muskerry in the final. He later claimed his first Munster Club Championship medal after scoring 1-0-1 from play in the 2-12-1-0-9 defeat of St. Senans in the Munster Club final. Kerrigan claimed a second successive county title in 2006 before making it 3 in a row after a 0-12-0-9 win over Island Rovers in 2007. A second Munster Club Championship title inside 3 years was subsequently attained before Kerrigan lined out in his first All-Ireland club final on 17 March 2008. He ended the game on the losing side after Dublin champions St. Vincent secured the title with a 1-11-0-13 victory. Kerrigan won a 4th county championship winners' medal in 2008, as Nemo Rangers became the first team to win 4 successive championships after a 0-13-0-5 defeat of Douglas. 5 in a row proved beyond the team, however. Kerrigan claimed a 5th county winners' medal after top scoring with 1-0-3 in the 2-10-1-0-8 win over St. Finbars in the 2010 final. He subsequently claimed his 3rd Munster Club Championship medal after securing a 1-15-1-13 win over Dr. Cruse. After suffering defeat at the hands of Castlehaven in the 2011 final, Kerrigan was Nemo Rangers captain when the sides met in the 2015 final. After an initial drawn game, he collected his 6th county winner's medal after leading Nemo to a 1-10-0-11 victory in the replay. Kerrigan also ended the championship as top scorer with 4-22. He again captained the team when Nemo suffered a 1-0, 7-0-0-9 defeat by Caldwell Commercials in the 2015 Munster Club Final. Kerrigan won a 7th county championship winner's medal after top scoring with 1-0-2 in the 4-12-3-13 win over St. Finbarr in the 2017 county final. He later claimed his 4th Munster Club Championship medal after a 0-16-0-11 defeat of Dr. Cruse in the 2017 Munster Club Final. On 17 March 2018, Kerrigan made his first All-Ireland final appearance in 10 years when Nemo suffered a 2-10-0-10 defeat by Corofin. Kerrigan claimed an 8th county championship winner's medal after a 2-0, 8-0-10 win over Duhallow in the 2019 county final. He later won a 5th Munster Club Championship medal after the 0-15-0-06 win over Caldwell Commercials in the 2019 Munster Club Final. Cork. Minor and under 21 Kerrigan was just 16 years old when he was drafted onto the Cork minor football team for the 2003 Munster Minor Championship. He made his first appearance for the team when lining out at left wing forward in the 2-18-0-08 defeat of Tipperary, before later lining out in the same position in the Munster final defeat by Kerry. In 2004, Cork qualified for a Munster final showdown with arch-rivals Kerry. That game ended in a 0-9 apiece draw. Cork lost the replay by 3 points. In spite of this, Cork were still in, with a chance of claiming the All-Ireland title. A 1-9 apiece draw was the result of their All-Ireland quarter-final game against Layais. However, Kerrigan's side were defeated at the second attempt. In 2005, Kerrigan joined the Cork under-21 football team and was immediately appointed captain for the year. He made his debut in a Munster quarter-final victory over Kerry, and after overcoming Clare, Kerrigan subsequently lined out in the provincial decider against Limerick. A close game developed, however. Cork held on to win by 1-14-1-11, and Kerrigan collected his first Munster under-21 winners' medal. Cork were later beaten by Galway in the All-Ireland semi-final. Kerrigan was a key fixture on the starting 15 of the Cork under-21 team once again in 2006. He lined out in the provincial decider that year against Waterford. However, the Decides were no match for the Rebels. A 4-14-1-6 trouncing gave Cork the victory and gave Kerrigan a second Munster under-21 medal. Cork later manoeuvred through the All-Ireland series and reached the All-Ireland final against Mayo. That game was a close affair, however. At the final whistle, Cork were defeated by just 2 points. In 2007, Kerrigan was in his last year as a member of the Cork under-21 team. He lined out in the provincial decider that year against Tipperary, and a high-scoring and exciting game developed. Cork won by 3-19 to 3-12, and Kerrigan added a third consecutive Munster under-21 winners' medal to his collection. Cork later reached the All-Ireland final against Leys. Another close and exciting game of football developed, as neither side took a decisive lead. Colm O'Neill and Daniel Gooding combined to score 2 goals, and to help Cork to a narrow 2-10-0-15 victory. It was Kerrigan's first All-Ireland winners' medal at under-21 level. Senior in 2008, Kerrigan made his debut with the Cork senior football team and lined out in his first Munster final. Kerry were cruising by 8 points at the interval, however. Cork stormed back in the second half. Kerrigan was introduced as a substitute, as Cork stymied the Kingdom in the second half, and secured a remarkable 1-16-1-11 victory. It was Kerrigan's first Munster winners' medal. Both sides met again in the All-Ireland semi-final, however, after a thrilling draw and a replay. Kerry were the team that advanced to the championship decider. The following year, Kerrigan had established himself as a member of the Cork starting 15, a team that were earmarked as potential All-Ireland contenders. After a defeat of Kerry in a replay of the Munster semi-final, Cork subsequently faced Limerick in the Munster final. Kerrigan had a poor game and was substituted in the second half. However, the Rebels eventually secured a narrow 2-6-0-11 victory. It was Kerrigan's second Munster title, and gave Cork a safe passage to an All-Ireland quarter-final meeting with Donegal. Kerrigan improved in that game and finished on the winning side after scoring a grand total of 1-4. He had another good performance in Cork's subsequent defeat of Tyrone. Cork then faced Kerry in the All-Ireland final and were surprisingly named as favourites. This tag appeared to be justified when Kerrigan's side, led by 1-3-0-1 early in the opening half. The Kerry team stuck to their game plan, helped in no small part by a Cork side that recorded 14 wides. At the final whistle, Kerry were the champions again by 0-16-1-9. In 2010, Kerrigan was still seen as a key member of Cork's half-forward line. A defeat by Kerry in a replay of the provincial semi-final resulted in Cork being exiled to the All-Ireland qualifiers. After negotiating their way through a difficult series of games, Cork defeated Dublin to qualify for their third All-Ireland final in 4 years. Down provided the opposition on that occasion in the first meeting between these two teams since 1994. Cork got off to a lightning start, however. They eased off and trailed by 3 points at the interval. Kerrigan got his sole point of the match to put the Rebels ahead for the first time in 50 minutes. Cork stretched the lead to 3 points, however. Down fought back. At the full-time whistle, Cork were the champions by 0-16-0-15, and Kerrigan picked up an All-Ireland winners' medal. Inter-county Honours Collist Creost Rye Corn Muiri 1. 2004 Cork Institute of Technology Sigerson Cup 1. 2009 Nemo Rangers Munster Senior Club Football Championship 5. 2005, 2007, 2010, 2017, 2019 Cork Premier Senior Football Championship 10. 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2010, 2015, 2017, 2019, 2020, 2022 Cork Intermediate Football Championship 1. 2004 Cork Under-21 Football Championship 2. 2004-2005 Cork All-Ireland Senior Football Championship 1, 2010 Munster Senior Football Championship 3, 2008-2009, 2012 National Football League Division 1-3, 2010, 2011, 2012 National Football League Division 2-1, 2009 National Football League Division 3-1, 2020 All-Ireland Under-21 Football Championship 1, 2007 Munster Under-21 Football Championship 3, 2005-2006, 2007 Ireland International Rules Series 1, 2015. And now a new story begins. Aquatic biomonitoring. Aquatic biomonitoring. Aquatic biomonitoring is the science of inferring the ecological condition of rivers, lakes, streams, and wetlands by examining the organisms, fish, invertebrates, insects, plants, and algae that live there. While aquatic biomonitoring is the most common form of biomonitoring, any ecosystem can be studied in this manner. Purpose. Aquatic biomonitoring is an important tool for assessing aquatic life forms and their habitats. It can reveal the overall health and status of the ecosystem, detect environmental trends and the impacts of different stressors, and can be used to evaluate the effect that various human activities have on the overall health of aquatic environments. Water pollution and general stresses to aquatic life have a major impact on the environment. The main sources of pollution to oceans, rivers, and lakes are human-caused events or activities, such as sewage, oil spills, surface runoff, littering, ocean mining, and nuclear waste. Monitoring aquatic life can also be beneficial in monitoring and understanding adjacent land ecosystems. Rapid changes to an environment like pollution can alter ecosystems and community assemblages and endanger species that live in or close to water. Many aquatic species serve as food sources for terrestrial species, which are therefore impacted by the size and health of aquatic populations. Indicator organisms. Aquatic invertebrates, most popularly the larvae of the caddies fly sp, are responsive to climate change, low levels of pollution, and temperature change. As a result, they have the longest history of use in biomonitoring programs. Additionally, macroscopic species, frogs, fish, and some plant species, as well as many forms of microscopic life like bacteria and protozoa, are used as indicator organisms in a variety of applications, storm water runoff among them. Many species of macroalgae, including cyanobacteria, though not technically a true algae, are also used in biomonitoring for both aquatic and marine environments, as their short lifespan makes them very reactive to changes. Common methods. A biomonitoring assessment requires a baseline dataset which, ideally, defines the environment in its natural or default state. This is then used for comparison against any subsequent measurements in order to assess potential alterations or trends. In some cases, these datasets are used to create standardized tools for assessing water quality via biomonitoring data, such as the Specific Pollution Index, SPI, and South African Diatom Index, SADI. Methods employed in aquatic biomonitoring and assessing aquatic species, INCL. Plants, animals, and bacteria, monitoring the behavior of certain aquatic species, and assessing any changes in species behavior, analyzing the biochemical makeup of the water body and its potential influence on the species that depend on it. Common tools of ecological and biological assessments, bioassays. Test organisms are exposed to an environment, and their response is measured. Typical organisms used in bioassays are certain species of plants, bacteria, fish, water fleas, daphnia, and frogs. Community assessments, also called biosurveys. An entire community of organisms is sampled to see what types of taxa remain. In aquatic ecosystems, these assessments often focus on invertebrates, algae, macrophytes, aquatic plants, fish, or amphibians. Rarely other large vertebrates, reptiles, birds, and mammals may be considered. Online biomonitoring devices. One example uses chemoreceptor cells of mollusks and similar animals to monitor their coastal and freshwater habitats. Different types of animals are used for this purpose, either in the lab or in the field. The study of the opening and closing activity of clams' valves is an example of one possible way to monitor in situ the quality of fresh and coastal waters. Variables considered. Water quality is graded both on appearance, for example, clear, cloudy, full of algae and chemistry. Determining the specific levels of enzymes, bacteria, metals, and minerals found in water is extremely important. Some contaminants, such as metals and certain organic wastes, can be lethal to individual creatures and could thereby ultimately lead to extinction of certain species. This could affect both aquatic and land ecosystems and cause disruption in other biomass and ecosystems. Water temperature, water body temperature, is one of the most ubiquitous variables collected in aquatic biomonitoring. Temperatures at the water surface, through the water column, and in the lowest levels of the water body, benthic zone, can all provide insight into different aspects of an aquatic ecosystem. Water temperature is directly affected by climate change and can have negative effects on many aquatic species, such as salmon. Salmon spawning is temperature dependent. There is a heat accumulation threshold which must be reached before hatching can occur. Post-hatching, salmon live in water within a critical range in temperature, with exposure to temperatures outside of this being potentially lethal. This sensitivity makes them useful indicators of changes in water temperature, hence their use in climate change studies. Similarly, Daphnia populations have been evidenced as being negatively affected by climate change, as earlier springs have caused hatching periods to decouple from the peak window of food availability. Community makeup species, community assemblages and changes therein can help researchers to infer changes in the health of an ecosystem. In typical, unpolluted temperate streams of Europe and North America, certain insect taxa predominate. Mayflies Ephemeroptera, caddisflies Trichoptera, and stoneflies Plecoptera are the most common insects in these undisturbed streams. In contrast, in rivers disturbed by urbanization, agriculture, forestry, and other perturbations, flies, diptera, and especially midges, family Chironomidae, predominate. Local geology surface water can be affected by local geology, as minerals leached from subsurface rocks can enter surface water bodies and influence water chemistry. Examples of this are the Wiri River, Tigray, Ethiopia, where elevated concentrations of heavy metals have been linked to the underlying slate, and drinking wells in indigenous communities near Anchorage, Alaska, where high concentrations of arsenic have been linked to the underlying McHugh complex rock formation. Limitations reliance on accurate species identification. When using visual identification in the field, there is the potential for species to be misidentified, which could lead to incorrect analysis and conclusions. To reduce the likelihood of such errors, many monitoring organizations utilize laboratory verification of sample specimens for quality control purposes. Species-specific, it can be difficult to draw comparisons between results unless the same indicator organism has been used in each study, as every species has an individual niche and associated ideal conditions. Even similar species, as defined by either taxonomy or niche, may have different reactions and different thresholds for change. External influences, changes in population size, or health caused by external factors, may be incorrectly interpreted as resulting from changes in the environment. For example, a reduction in population that occurs due to disease, but coincides with a change in environmental conditions, could be misconstrued as resulting from the latter change. Misleading results, survival of species usually regarded as sensitive, can lead to the conclusion that there has been little change or contamination of an environment, which may be incorrect. An example of this is amphibians, which have traditionally been considered a highly sensitive class in regards to environmental changes. However, some research indicates that this may only be true for phenols, with amphibians having similar sensitivity to other contaminants, for example heavy metals, as other aquatic taxonomic groups such as bivalves. See also ecology, portal, bioindicator, biological integrity, biological monitoring working party, a measurement procedure, indicator species. Let us drift gently now toward Princess Alexandrine of Prussia. Princess Alexandrine of Prussia. Princess Friederike Wilhelmine Louise Elizabeth Alexandrine of Prussia was a member of the House of Hohenzollern as the daughter of Prince Albert of Prussia and Princess Marion of the Netherlands. Family and early life. Alexandrine Addie was the youngest child born to Prince Albert of Prussia and his first wife Princess Marion of the Netherlands. She was named after her aunt and later mother-in-law, the Grand Duchess of Mecklenburg-Schwerin. She had two older surviving siblings, Princess Charlotte and Prince Albert. Her parents' marriage was dissolved on 28 March 1849. Her father later remarried in 1853 to one of the court maids of honor, Rosalie von Rauch, who was created Countess of Hohenau. The couple had two sons. Their mother also remarried morganatically to a former coachman, producing issue with Johannes van Rossum. Due to the troubled marriage of her parents, Alexandrine was to all intents and purposes the adopted daughter of her otherwise childless uncle and aunt, King Frederick William Roman IV of Prussia and Queen Elizabeth Ludovica, and became their ward. They took Alexandrine to live with them, bringing her up as their own offspring. Marriage prospects. As a young woman, Alexandrine was considered as a potential bride for the 1 year older Albert Edward, Prince of Wales, the future Edward Roman VII of the United Kingdom, but was not considered clever or pretty enough by his sister Crown Princess Victoria of Prussia, Vicky. The prince married Alexandra of Denmark instead. Despite her comment, Vicky had a fondness for Alexandrine, writing to her mother that she was such an excellent girl and much admired here. There were also financial advantages to a marriage to Alexandrine. She already had $1 million through her mother and would have even more wealth when she married. Consequently, Vicky tried again to marry her off to another British relative, Prince George, Duke of Cambridge. Nothing came of this either, however. Wedding on 9 December 1865, Alexandrine married her much older cousin Duke William of Mecklenburg-Schwerin. He was a younger son of Paul Frederick, Grand Duke of Mecklenburg and Alexandrine's aunt, and namesake Princess Alexandrine of Prussia. Though the marriage was meant to give her financial security in the future, it was certainly not a love match. Alexandrine cried during the entire wedding ceremony. Vicky described the wedding to her mother. The wedding was celebrated with the greatest pomp, but had something of the solemnity of a funeral about it. Nothing gay, festive, or bridal. The only thing that made a pleasing impression on me was dear Addie herself, who, although she cried the whole time, had such a dignified and touching appearance that I never saw her look so well. She went through it all with the most perfect tenue, though I never saw her smile once. She did not look a bit like a bride, but I must say very elegant and distinct. The bridegroom's tenants looked as evil as possible the whole time. I looked in vain for a trace of softness of feeling. Furthermore, William had a reputation for drunkenness and a dissolute character, so it was surprising that the exceedingly pious and recently widowed Queen Elizabeth gave her consent to the match. On 2 occasions, William had been deprived of his command in the Prussian army and had recently proposed marriage to the celebrated ballerina Marie Taglioni. Consequently, he was generally considered to be the black sheep of the family. Regardless, the Queen granted her permission, endowing her with a grand trousseau of lavish clothing and jewelry. Her other uncle, Emperor Wilhelm, I gave her an opulent diamond necklace, while her mother, Princess Marian, gave her a necklace of Siberian amethysts as well as an emerald diadem. Marriage and later life. William's older brother, Frederick Francis, already had many children from his 2 marriages, so there was no chance of William and Alexandrine succeeding to the throne of Mecklenburg-Schwerin. During their marriage, the couple lived at Bellevue Palace in Berlin. Alexandrine saw little of Mecklenburg, her husband's native country. The marriage was unhappy, and she tried to escape several times, only to be forced back by pressure from her powerful Aunt Alexandrine. William managed with difficulty to secure an unimportant command in the Prussian army during the Franco-Prussian War. He was badly injured from an explosion during the war, but continued to live on until 1879. After her husband's death, Alexandrine dedicated her life to her daughter and played very little part in public life. Alexandrine died on 26 March 1906 at Schloss Marly, near Potsdam, Brandenburg, Germany. Bellevue Palace was next occupied by Prince Eitel Friedrich of Prussia and his new bride Duchess Sophia Charlotte of Oldenburg. Issue by her husband, she had an only daughter, Duchess Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Schwerin. She married firstly Henry Roman 17 of Reuss-Gerstritz and secondly Robert Schmidt. She had 3 sons from her first marriage. Heinrich Roman 37, Reuss-zu-Gerstritz Heinrich Roman 38, Reuss-zu-Gerstritz Heinrich Roman 42, Reuss-zu-Gerstritz. Next, we turn softly to Karl Boy-Ed. Karl Boy-Ed. Karl Boy-Ed was German career naval officer in the Imperial German Navy, who served as the naval attaché at the Imperial German Embassy in Washington, D.C. during World War I. Due to his involvement in spying and sabotage activities, he was expelled and returned to Germany. He died in a horse-riding accident at age 58. Family and early life of half Turkish and half German origin, Karl Boy-Ed was born in Lübeck on the German Baltic Sea coast. He was the first of 3 children. His Turkish father, Karl Johann Boy, was a merchant in Lübeck. In 1878, Karl Johann Boy and his wife Ida Boy-Ed separated. Ida Ed moved to Berlin with her son Karl. She worked as a journalist and began writing novels. In 1880, Ida's estranged husband forced her and Karl to return to Lübeck, as their divorce had not been finalized. She continued on her career as a writer and published a volume of 70 novels and essays. She supported the career of young Thomas Mann and corresponded with his brother Heinrich. As a major influence in the art and music scene in Lübeck, Ida supported the early careers of conductors Wilhelm Furtwängler and Hermann Abendroth. Thomas Mann regularly stayed overnight in the Boy-Ed household. Early naval career, Karl Boy-Ed joined the Imperial German Navy in 1891 at the age of 19. Rising through the ranks, he served on dozens of naval assignments. In 1898, Boy-Ed witnessed the American occupation of the Philippines. Shortly before the Boxer Rebellion, Kaiser Wilhelm's brother, Prince Heinrich von Preußen, sent the Navy Lieutenant Zur See, lieutenant, on a secret mission to assess the value of the Chinese Navy. Boy-Ed considered his report as a major writing accomplishment. In view of the hostilities that broke out with China a year later, Boy-Ed's research was timely. Between 1906 and 1909, Boy-Ed served on the staff of Grand Admiral Alfred von Tirpitz. In this period, Boy-Ed took over the Nachrichtenabteilung N, Office of Naval Intelligence, from Paul von Hintze. Department N was the precursor of the German Naval Intelligence Service. It collected intelligence on naval affairs and disseminated German propaganda on her own navy. After 3 years in Berlin, Boy-Ed served as first officer on the SMS Deutschland and then commander of the naval tender SMS Hella. In 1911, promoted to Korvettenkapitän, lieutenant commander, he sailed on the SMS Prussia, the flagship of the 2nd Squadron. German naval attaché in the United States in the beginning of 1912, his career took Boy-Ed to the United States as naval attaché under the German ambassador to the U.S., Johann Heinrich von Bernstorff. However, he traveled to Jamaica, the Panama Canal Zone, and Mexico before he took over the office in Washington, D.C. In 1913, he enjoyed popularity and respect among American naval officials before the war. His area of responsibility also included Mexico, where the ambassadorship had just turned over to Paul von Hintze, Boy-Ed's former superior. As naval attaché, he was responsible for naval matters in North America, mainly intelligence gathering and supply of the German cruiser fleet. Well liked in the U.S., he regularly was invited to observe American and Canadian naval maneuvers, and established a thorough social network. He worked closely with Franz von Papen, later the Chancellor of Germany, who took over the post of military attaché in the United States and Mexico in 1914. Boy-Ed and Papen established an effective spy and sabotage ring during World War I, aimed at hindering the U.S. from sending aid to the Allies. Some of the more notorious members of this network were Franz von Rintalen, Felix A. Sommerfeld, Horst von der Goltz, and Paul Koenig. After several clandestine operations had been reported in American papers, Boy-Ed and Papen were declared persona non grata and expelled from the U.S. in December 1915. Returned to Germany, and last year's back in Germany, Boy-Ed was decorated by the Kaiser with the Order of the Red Eagle for his services in America. He then returned to a post with the Naval Intelligence Operation. However, he began to experience declining health. Boy-Ed suffered from phagomania, a constant desire to eat. The disorder required tremendous self-discipline in social circumstances. The other more severe disorder was insomnia. Boy-Ed could not sleep at night, which on the one hand increased his productivity but weighed heavily on his health. The stresses of his American assignment had taken a heavy toll on him physically and mentally. He admitted in his autobiographic sketch that as a result of his wartime assignment, his nerves suffered a permanent crack. He left the Navy after the end of the war. In February 1921, he married Virginia G. Mackay Smith, daughter of Bishop Alexander Mackay Smith of the Episcopal Diocese of Pennsylvania. After trying to move to the United States in 1926, but being denied a travel visa by the State Department, Boy-Ed settled in Hamburg, Germany. Boy-Ed died after a horse-riding accident on his 58th birthday. Awards and decorations: Order of the Red Eagle, 3rd Class with Bow and Swords, Order of the Red Eagle, 4th Class with Crown, Order of the Crown of Prussia, 3rd Class Iron Cross, 1st and 2nd Class Knight, 3rd Class of the Order of St. Michael Knights, Cross 1st Class of the Albert Order Knights, Cross 1st Class of the Friedrich Order Friedrich August Cruse, 1st and 2nd Class Hanseatic Cross of Lübeck. Next, we turn softly to Howard Cruse. Howard Cruse. Howard Cruse was an American alternative cartoonist known for the exploration of gay themes in his comics. First coming to attention in the 1970s, during the underground comics movement with Barefoots, he was the founding editor of Gay Comics in 1980, created the gay-themed strip Wendell during the 1980s, and reached a more mainstream audience in 1995, when an imprint of DC Comics published his graphic novel Stuck Rubber Baby. Early life Cruse was born on May 2, 1944, in Birmingham, Alabama, and raised in nearby Springville, the son of a preacher and a homemaker. His earliest published cartoons were in the Baptist Student when he was in high school. His work later appeared in Fooey and Sick. He attended high school at Indian Springs School in what is now Indian Springs, Alabama, and college at Birmingham Southern College, where he studied drama. Cruse worked for about a decade in television. In 1977, Cruse moved to New York City, where he met Eddie Sedarbaum, his life partner, in April 1979. Sedarbaum founded the New York activist group Queens Gays and Lesbians United. The couple moved to North Adams, Massachusetts in 2003 and were married there the following year. Career Cruse's cartooning first attracted nationwide attention in the 1970s, when he contributed to underground comics publications. His best-known character from this period was Barefoots, the title character of a surreal series about a good-natured, well-dressed young man with large bare feet. Although dismissed by many underground fans as overly cutesy, others found it a refreshing change of pace from edgier comics. Cruse had been open about his homosexuality throughout the 1970s, but aside from having a gay supporting character, Hedrak in Barefoots did not acknowledge it in his work. This changed in 1979, when publisher Denny's Kitchen asked him to edit Gay Comics, a new anthology featuring comics by openly gay and lesbian cartoonists. For much of the 1980s, he created Wendell, a strip, 1 to 2 pages per episode, about an irrepressible and idealistic gay man, his lover Ollie, and a cast of diverse urban characters. It was published in the gay news magazine The Advocate, which allowed Cruse substantial freedom in terms of language and nudity, and to address content such as AIDS, gay rights demonstrations, gay bashing, closeted celebrities, and same-gender relationships, with a combination of humor and anger. 2 collections of these strips have been published, as well as an all-in-one volume. Cruse spent the first half of the 1990s creating Stuck Rubber Baby, a 210-page graphic novel commissioned by editor Mark Nevelow for his DC Comics imprint Piranha Press, but eventually published by DC's Paradox Press. It is the story of Toland Polk, a young man growing up in the American South in the 1960s, and his growing awareness of both his own homosexuality and the racial injustice of American society. The book features Cruse's most detailed and realistic comics art and his most serious and complex storytelling. It received numerous awards and nominations. Cruse briefly wrote a column in a comic book review magazine, Comic Scene, under the rhyming masthead Loose Cruse. In 2003, The Leslie Lohman Museum of Art featured Cruse alongside Bill Schmeling, Michael Kerwin, Rob Clark, and Adam Jack Bozzi in its deliciously depraved exhibit. Cruse contributed to the queer comics anthology series Juicy Mother, edited by Jennifer Camper, which first appeared in 2005 and then in 2007. In August 2009, Howard Cruse self-published From Hedrack to Claude, a collection of all his gay-themed strips accompanied by commentaries on his career and life, including the never-reprinted 1976 Barefoot story, where the character Hedrack came out, and some unpublished stories. On March 17, 2010, an original one-off titled Lubijab penned by Cruse was published in Niblit Comics Journal. In 2011, Cruse's The Complete Wendell was republished by Rizzoli's Universe Books imprint. Cruse was chosen as a keynote speaker, alongside Alison Bechdel, for the inaugural Queers and Comics Conference in 2015. Howard Cruse died on November 26, 2019, from lymphoma in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Shortly before, it had been announced that a 25th anniversary edition of Stuck Rubber Baby was scheduled for publication from First Second Books. Howard Cruse is one of 5 queer cartoonists featured in the award-winning documentary film No Straight Lines, The Rise of Queer Comics, released in 2021 at the Tribeca Film Festival and broadcast on national PBS in 2023. Publications: Cruse, Howard. Wendell, New York, Gay Presses of New York. ISBN 0-900-14017-10-1 Cruse, Howard. Howard Cruse's Barefoots, The Comics Book Stories, Renegade Press. Assen B00072-X5 Yai Cruse, Howard. Dancin' Naked with the Angels, St. Martin's Press. ISBN 0-312-01. 104-0 Cruse, Howard. Wendell on the Rebound, St. Martin's Press. ISBN 0-312-03002-9 Cruse, Howard. Early Barefoots, Fantagraphics Books. ISBN 1-56097-052-9 Cruse, Howard. Stuck Rubber Baby, Paradox Press. ISBN 1-56389-255-3 Cruse, Howard. Wendell Altogether, Olmsted Press. ISBN 1-58754-0 12-6 Schaffer, Jean E. The Swimmer with a Rope in His Teeth, illustrated by Howard Cruse, Amherst, NY, Prometheus Books. ISBN 1-59102-181-2 Cruse, Howard. From Hedrack to Claude, Nifty Kitsch Press. ISBN 0-578-03251-1 Cruse, Howard. The Complete Wendell, Rizzoli/Universe. ISBN 0-789-322-161 Contributions: Robert Kirby and David Kelly, editors. The Book of Boy Trouble 2, Born to Trouble. Green Candy Press. Camper, Jennifer, editor. Juicy Mother 2, How They Met. Manic D Press. ISBN 978-933-149-20-2 Fish, Tim, editor. Young Bottoms in Love. Poison Press. ISBN 0 to 9762786 to 7 to 7, includes the My Hypnotist short story. Camper, Jennifer, editor. Juicy Mother. Soft Skull Press. ISBN 1 to 932,360 to 70 to 0. Let us drift gently now toward Another Joe. Another Joe. Another Joe is a Canadian punk rock band formed in Richmond, British Columbia in 1995, when founding members John Glenn, guitar and vocals, and John Simmons, drums, recruited Alison Toews, bass. The trio toured extensively throughout Canada and the United States, grew a large following as well as a major buzz within the college radio circuit, and recorded 4 studio albums. P Against the Wind, 1996, Positive Records. A split album with Gob, As Seen on TV, 1997, Landspeed Records. Crandoodle Daddy, 1998, Landspeed Records, Smallman Records, and Plasticine, 2000, Smallman Records. Origins Another Joe was born from local Richmond, B.C. band Fuse Box, which had been formed in August 1994. Cameron Burt vocals, Rob Van Dyck bass, and John Glenn guitar and vocals, brought in John Simmons drums, to create a new punk-influenced group inspired by Nirvana, Green Day, Knopf's, Lagwagon, and other new school punk bands. Fuse Box wrote several songs, a few of which would end up on Another Joe's first album, P Against the Wind. Shortly after their creation, Cameron Burt left the band, and not long after Rob Van Dyck followed, leaving Glenn and Simmons to lay the foundation for Another Joe. Glenn and Simmons recorded a few demos on a 4-track, with Glenn on guitar, bass, and vocals, while Simmons drummed and helped engineer the process. At the time, Glenn worked in a sign shop and would often bring Simmons to help with installations. While stuck in traffic in a smoke-filled van driving to a job site, they came up with the name Another Joe. John and John auditioned several bass players before meeting Alison Toews. Alison was immediately the front runner, not only for her skills on the bass or her punky cute look and bubbly personality, but also her ties with Tom Thacker of Gob, her high school sweetheart. A history. 1995 to 1997, Another Joe wrote and rehearsed vigorously for several months before playing their first show in the Vancouver bar, The Abyss, in July 1995. This was their only live performance before hitting the road with a box full of demo tapes, a van full of gear, and little money. Their first tour included shows in San Jose and the surrounding area. They had only a handful of shows booked, and many got canceled. Upon their return, Another Joe focused on recording their debut CD release and performing wherever they could in the Vancouver area. The Langley all-ages scene was booming, with bands such as Gob, D.B.S., Brand New Unit, and Manor Farm. These bands attracted national attention and hosted many shows featuring headliners such as No Use for a Name, High Standard, F.E., and Swingin' Utters. This scene, consisting of mostly underage teens, became the life force of Another Joe and would partly inspire their first music video. Recording for P Against the Wind began in September 1995 at Sporadic Studios, Victoria, B.C., engineered by Jason Flowers. The sessions were recorded over a weekend using a 6-channel multi-track cassette recorder for the drums, bass, and guitars, and an 8-channel DAT recorder to add vocals. The vocals were re-recorded in Vancouver at Big Midget Sound, where the final record was also mixed. P Against the Wind was released by Positive Records, owned by Tom Thacker of Gob in March 1996, and a video for the single Eat at Bernie's was shot in February 1996. Eat at Bernie's debuted on Much Music in Canada in April 1996. Another Joe embarked on their second tour in the summer of 1996. They targeted Western Canada, playing shows throughout British Columbia and Alberta, gaining a reputation as a hard-working live band. To support the tour, they sold T-shirts and hundreds of copies of P Against the Wind. In October 1996, Gob and Another Joe recorded a split CD called As Seen on TV. The 21-song collaboration included 9 songs from Gob and 8 songs from Another Joe, including Simon Says, What, Spam, Outta Here, and a cover of Canadian punk legends The Ripcords' Whatever Happened To. Both bands recorded 2 bonus songs that are available only on the vinyl release, Another Joe's being the songs Dink and I'm Hungry. In November 1996, Another Joe and Gob went on a brief tour, 3 shows in 3 days in Prince George, to Edmonton and Calgary. Over the following months, Gob and Another Joe completed the mixing and mastering of As Seen on TV, and it was released on May 13, 1997, by Landspeed Records. In January 1997, Simmons left Another Joe to form the band Willis with original Fuse Box member Rob Van Dyck, and in 2000, formed the record label Warn Records. Glenn and Toes added Manor Farm drummer Richie Klingon in April 1997. The 3 toured extensively across Canada that summer and built on what was becoming a large national following. 1998 to 2001, Another Joe's full-length album, Crandoodle Daddy, charted heavily on radio across Canada and reaffirmed their spot among the top punk bands in Canada. In 1998, Another Joe toured through North America with bands such as AFI, No Use for a Name, Diesel Boy, High Standard, SNFU, Guttermouth, Chickstiget, and the Suicide Machines. In the fall of 1999, Another Joe began working with Smallman Records, and with the technical assistance of drummer John Rylance, created their hit album, Plasticine. Plasticine was released in February 2000, charting quickly on national college radio charts and reaching number 2 on the National Loud Radio chart in April 2000. The album was seen as a departure from the band's classic, snotty punk rock, featuring a more serious sound, leaning towards melodic hardcore with lyrical content about social commentary rather than relationships. In support of Plasticine, Another Joe hosted the first annual Smallman Records tour, going to 14 ski resorts in British Columbia and Alberta. After returning to Vancouver in May 2000, John Rylance left the band, and Glenn and Toes were unable to find a replacement. Another Joe disbanded in January 2001. Allison Toes joined the band State of Shock, Richie Klingon a band called Jacqueline/Deep Search. 2022 Reformation/New Lineup. On October 17, 2022, another Joe announced their new lineup with John and Allison, being joined by Ryan Walter Wagner, guitar, and Gabe Mantle, drums. They also launched a website and released a new album titled Ready or Not through People of Punk Rock Records on February 3, 2023. Band members: current John Glenn, lead guitar, lead vocals, 1995 to 2001, 2012, present. Allison Toes, bass, backing vocals, 1995 to 2001, 2012, present. Ryan Walter Wagner, guitar, backing vocals, 2022, present. Gabe Mantle, drums, backing vocals, 2022, present. Former John Simmons, drums, backing vocals. Richie Klingon, drums, backing vocals. John Rylance, drums, backing vocals. Discography: P Against the Wind, 1996, Positive Records. As Seen on TV with Gob, 1997, Landspeed Records. Crandoodle Daddy, 1998, Landspeed Records. Smallman Records. Platacine 2000, Smallman Records. Ready or Not, 2023, People of Punk Rock Records. Our next topic tonight is Amy Herr. Amy Herr. Amy Elizabeth Herr is an American professor. She is the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Professor at the University of California, Berkeley, where she is attached to the Department of Bioengineering. At Berkeley, she was also the founding executive director of the Bakar Bioingenuity Hub. Herr is a Chan Zuckerberg Bio Hub investigator and the Chief Technology Officer of the Chan Zuckerberg Bio Hub Network, a fellow of both the National Academy of Inventors and the American Institute of Medical and Biological Engineering, as well as a co-founder of Zephyrus Biosciences, a biotechnology company that was acquired by Biotech. Early life and education: Amy Herr was born in Ohio and grew up in Florida. In high school, a research project took her to the International Science and Engineering Fair, where she received an American Meteorological Society (AMS) honorable mention for her project focused on the performance of iced airfoils. She earned her B.S. in Engineering and Applied Science at Caltech and her M.S. and Ph.D. in Mechanical Engineering at Stanford University, where she studied under Tom Kenny and Juan Santiago as a National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellow. Her thesis is titled Isoelectric Focusing for Multidimensional Separations in Microfluidic Devices. Career and research: after completing her Ph.D., Herr became a staff member in the Biosystems Research Group at Sandia National Laboratories in Livermore, California from 2002 to 2007, where she worked on protein analysis in complex biological media such as saliva and serum. She joined the faculty at the University of California, Berkeley in 2007. Her laboratory focuses on developing the tools required for complex biological analysis, including identification of proteins from a single cell, in the pursuit of quantitative medicine. This protomic information provides additional insights beyond genomic analysis. One application is analysis of proteins from circulating tumor cells, which could allow a doctor to understand how a cancer patient is responding to treatment with only a blood draw. The lab is also affiliated with University of California, San Francisco, QB3, the California Institute of Quantitative Biosciences, and the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. She describes her research interests in this way. Difficult measurement challenges exist at the interface of biology and quantitative science. Advanced measurement tools are already adding to our knowledge and capabilities in the areas of genomics and transcriptomics. As we push forward the frontier of quantitative, precise, and dynamic measurements, we'll see even more knowledge unlocked from nature and translated into improving the human condition. Dynamic protein measurements are a linchpin to realizing these knowledge leaps. She held a 5-year appointment as the Lester John and Lynn Duor Lloyd Distinguished Professor of Bioengineering from 2015 to 2020. She is also on the advisory board for the Bakar Fellows Program at UC Berkeley and previously served as its faculty director. She serves on the NIH National Advisory Council of Biomedical Imaging and Bioengineering, and she is a board member of the Chemical and Biological Microsystems Society. Herr is also an entrepreneur, co-founding Zephyrus Biosciences in 2013, acquired by Biotech, Inc. In 2016, Zephyrus Biosciences enabled protein analysis at the single-cell level for thousands of cells in parallel. For this and her other efforts in commercializing academic research, she received the Berkeley Visionary Award from the City of Berkeley Chamber of Commerce, 2017. Speaking about the UC Berkeley campus entrepreneurial spirit, she said, "When I came here, I never saw myself as an entrepreneur, but we have people here who can demystify the process. And if a student thinks, I can do this, then it's going to spread to a lot of our students." The co-founders of Eco Devices, who developed a digital stethoscope and other cardiovascular health tools, credit their time in Herr's capstone design class with inspiring the initial idea for their company. She also has a record of mentorship since her early career, including receiving an Outstanding Mentor Award in 2007 at Sandia Laboratories, the 2012 Ellen Weaver Award for Mentoring from the Association of Women in Science, Northern California, and an award for excellence in postdoctoral mentoring from the Visiting Scientist and Postdoc Affairs at UC Berkeley in 2019. In 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, she joined N95DCon, a scientific consortium researching methods to effectively decontaminate N95 masks. Awards and Honors seeks microscale separations, Innovations Medal, 2018 Chan Zuckerberg, CZ, BioHub Investigator, 2017 Berkeley Visionary Award from the City of Berkeley Chamber of Commerce, Lester John and Lynn Duor Lloyd Distinguished Professor, 2015 to 2020, Elected Fellow, National Academy of Inventors, 2016 Mid-Career Achievement Award from the AES Electrophoresis Society, 2016, The Analytical Scientist Power List. 2016, Elected Fellow, American Institute for Medical and Biological Engineering. 2015, NSF Career Award. 2011, NIH New Innovator Award. 2010, Alfred P. Sloan Research Fellowship in Chemistry. 2010, DARPA Young Faculty Award. 2009. Next, we turn softly to Jim Caldwell, American Football. Jim Caldwell, American Football. James Caldwell is an American football coach who previously served as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts from 2009 to 2011 and Detroit Lions from 2014 to 2017. As an assistant coach, Caldwell was the assistant head coach and quarterbacks coach for the Colts team that won Super Bowl XLI, and the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens team that won Super Bowl XLVII. College career: Caldwell attended the University of Iowa, where he was a four-year starter at cornerback for the Iowa Hawkeyes football team from 1973 to 1976. As a freshman in 1973, he set an Iowa single-season record that still stands with 5 blocked kicks. Coaching career: college: Caldwell served as an assistant coach at Iowa, Southern Illinois, Northwestern, Colorado, Louisville, and Penn State, before being named head coach at Wake Forest in 1993. He was the first African-American head football coach in the Atlantic Coast Conference, AC. Caldwell was inducted into Omicron Delta Kappa, the National Leadership Honor Society, at Wake Forest in 1996. In 8 years, Caldwell had a record of 26-63. He installed a powerful passing attack that set numerous school records, many of which have since been broken under his successor, Jim Grobe. However, his teams rarely ran well. In 1 year, the Demon Deacons' leading rusher only notched 300 yards for the entire season. He only had one winning season, in 1999, when the Deacons won the Aloha Bowl. Indianapolis Colts: Caldwell joined Tony Dungy's staff with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2001 as quarterbacks coach. He followed Dungy to Indianapolis in 2002 and remained with him for his entire tenure, helping lead the Colts to a win in Super Bowl XLI. On January 13, 2008, Caldwell was formally announced as Dungy's successor. On January 12, 2009, Dungy announced his retirement, putting Caldwell in the head coaching position. He was formally introduced at a press conference the following day. Caldwell had one of the best debut seasons for a head coach in NFL history, finishing with a 14-2 record. The Colts rushed out to a 14-0 start. With the AFC South title and the top seed in the AFC playoffs secured, Caldwell opted, on orders from then general manager Bill Polian, to sit out his starting players the last 2 games of the season, both losses, drawing controversy to him and the team. He later won his first playoff game against the Baltimore Ravens on January 16, 2010. On January 24, 2010, Caldwell became the 5th rookie head coach to lead his team to the Super Bowl after securing a 30-17 win against the New York Jets in the AFC Championship game. On February 7, 2010, Caldwell's rookie season ended with a 31-17 loss in Super Bowl XLIV to the New Orleans Saints. Caldwell shares the NFL record for the best start by a rookie head coach, starting his career with 14 wins. George Seifert led the San Francisco 49ers to 14 wins as a rookie head coach in 1989. The 14 wins also tied a Colts franchise record. As of Super Bowl LIX, Caldwell is the most recent rookie head coach to reach the Super Bowl. In his second season, the Colts posted a 10-6 record, but maintained the division title in the AFC South. They lost their first game in the playoffs to the New York Jets, 17-16, on January 8, 2011, marking the end of the Peyton Manning era in Indianapolis. The 2011 season, however, saw the Colts sink to 2-14. Starting quarterback Peyton Manning missed the entire season due to undergoing neck surgeries, and without him, the Colts appeared to be a rudderless team. Caldwell was fired after the season. The league worst record, however, gave the Colts the #1 pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, which they would end up using to draft Stanford quarterback Andrew Luck. Baltimore Ravens 13 days after his dismissal from the Indianapolis Colts, Caldwell was named quarterbacks coach by the Baltimore Ravens on January 30, 2012. On December 10, 2012, the Ravens dismissed Cam Cameron and named Caldwell the offensive coordinator. On the day after defeating the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game, head coach John Harbaugh announced on January 22, 2013, that Caldwell would be the team's permanent offensive coordinator going into the 2013 season. On February 3, 2013, Caldwell helped lead the Ravens to a 34-31 victory over the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl XLVII at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Detroit Lions on January 14, 2014, the Detroit Lions announced Caldwell as their new head coach. He was the first African American to hold the position for the Lions. In Caldwell's first season with the Lions, they posted an 11-5 record and made the playoffs as a wild card. They were defeated in the first round by the Dallas Cowboys, losing by a score of 24-20. Halfway through the 2015 season, the Lions had struggled to a 1-7 record, and both team president Tom Lewand and general manager Martin Mayhew were fired. There was speculation that Caldwell would soon be fired as well, but the next week the Lions won a road game against the Green Bay Packers for the first time since 1991. Ultimately, Detroit won 6 of their final 8 games to finish the season with a 7-9 record, and Caldwell retained his job. In 2016, Caldwell's third season in Detroit, the Lions improved to a 9-7 record and lost to the Packers in a Week 17 game that determined the winner of NFC North. The Lions clinched another wild card berth, but lost in the first round to the Seattle Seahawks, 26-6. The Lions went 9-7 again in 2017, in a season widely considered a disappointment, despite the Lions' winning record. After the Lions missed the playoffs following a mediocre performance in the second half of the season, there was speculation about Caldwell's future. Given the team's performance and belief that Lions general manager Bob Quinn, who was hired during Caldwell's second year, may have wanted to bring in a coach from his former team, the New England Patriots. Subsequently, on January 1, 2018, the day after the season ended, Caldwell was fired by the Lions. He was succeeded by Patriots defensive coordinator Matt Patricia the following month. The firing of Caldwell drew retrospective contention due to the team not improving beyond wild card contention during his tenure, but regressing under Patricia. Caldwell's record as Lions coach was 36-28, making him the first non-interim Lions coach to leave the team with a winning record since Joe Schmidt, who led the team from 1967 to 1972. His .563 winning percentage was also the best for a Lions head coach since Buddy Parker in the 1950s. XFL, after being released from Detroit at the end of the 2017 NFL season, Caldwell was hired by the reincarnated XFL to a consulting panel that addressed football rules for the league. Caldwell was interviewed in December 2018 by the Green Bay Packers for their open head coach position that was previously held by Mike McCarthy until being let go mid-season in 2018. Caldwell also interviewed for head coaching vacancies with the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns. Miami Dolphins, after the Miami Dolphins hired Brian Flores as their new head coach, Caldwell was hired to Flores' staff as assistant head coach and quarterbacks coach on February 8, 2019. On July 13, 2019, it was announced Caldwell would take a leave of absence to address health issues, but remained as a consultant. Following the 2019 season, Caldwell was not retained by the Dolphins. On January 4, 2022, Caldwell interviewed to become the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. On January 15, he completed an interview for the head coaching job at the Chicago Bears. He was later interviewed for a second time by new general manager Ryan Poles on January 25. Caldwell not receiving another head coaching opportunity since 2017, along with his dismissals from the Colts and Lions, were cited by Flores as examples of the league's alleged racial discrimination in his 2022 class action lawsuit against the NFL. Carolina Panthers, on January 9, 2023, Caldwell was interviewed as a candidate for the Carolina Panthers head coach position. On February 14, Caldwell was named a senior assistant for the Panthers under new head coach Frank Reich. On May 18, 2026, it was announced that Caldwell was no longer a part of the team's coaching staff. Family Caldwell and his wife, Cheryl, have 4 children: Jimmy, Jermaine, Jared, and Natalie. Let us drift gently now toward Mediterranean California. Mediterranean California. Mediterranean California is a Level I ecoregion of North America designated by the Commission for Environmental Cooperation, SEC, in its North American Environmental Atlas. The region is present only in California and Baja California. Climate: very few places in the world have the Mediterranean climate of California. It is one of the more rare in the world, with only 5 locations: the Mediterranean Basin, the mallee woodlands and shrublands of southern Australia, the fynbos of South Africa, the matorral of central Chile, and the chaparral and woodlands ecoregion of the Californias. The region is typified by warm, dry summers and mild, wet winters. This is unusual as most climates have more precipitation in the summer. There are 3 variations to the Mediterranean climate in California: a cool summer/cool winter variation, a cool summer/cool winter with summer fog variation, and a hot summer/cool winter variation. The average temperatures for the cool summer variations are below 71 degrees F, 22 degrees C, in the summer, and between 27 to 64 degrees F, -3 to 18 degrees C, in the winter. Average summer temperatures for the hot summer variation are above 71 degrees F, 22 degrees C. Average annual precipitation for this climate is 25 to 100 inches, 640 to 540 mm per year. Hydrology defined by the Pacific Coast on the west, the Sierra Nevada mountains, and the deserts of California on the east, and the Northern California coast ranges on the north. The Mediterranean California ecoregion has unique physical characteristics that play a large role in the natural systems of the region, including hydrology. Precipitation: the unusual precipitation pattern of the Mediterranean climate is due to subtropical high-pressure systems in the summer and the polar jet stream in the winter. Rainfall in the summer is uncommon because the marine layer becomes capped with dry, sinking air. The marine layer is an air mass over a large body of water brought about by a temperature inversion from the cooling effect of the water on the warmer air. The marine layer is often accompanied by fog. The polar jet stream in the winter brings with it rain and snow. The jet stream is an extremely powerful air current flowing west to east, often at over 100 miles per hour. The precipitation in the region is closely associated with winter frontal storms from the Pacific Ocean, which bring cool air and rain to the area. The annual rainfall varies in different elevations, but the average range is between 400 to 800 millimeters, 16 to 31 in annually. Much of the rain in central and northern California flows out the Sacramento and San Joaquin rivers, which with numerous tributaries run through an upper part of the ecoregion. Fog is also an important aspect of the hydrologic cycle in this ecoregion. The cooling of air over the warm seawater create a dense fog that covers large areas of the coast. This fog affects the vegetation and overall environment on the coast. On the contrary, fire also influences this region. The fire flood sequence that occurs post-fire can greatly affect populations of species in the region. The combination of the geophysical characteristics, little rainfall, and the bodies of water in the region make it a unique, distinct environment. Geology: Mediterranean climate. California's geology is characterized by the meeting of the North American Plate and Pacific Plate, with much of its region near or influenced by the San Andreas Fault along the junction. When the two plates collided, the Pacific Plate was pushed under the North American Plate, and the California Coast Ranges and Sierra Nevada were uplifted. The Coast Ranges are largely metamorphic rock formed from the submergence of the Pacific Plate, and the Sierra are uplifted granite batholiths. Not along the San Andreas Fault, the granitic peninsular ranges system also uplifted with the collision and runs from Southern California down the Baja California Peninsula into Baja California Sur State, northwest Mexico. The transverse ranges are another major Southern California mountain system, primarily in the Mediterranean climate zone. Large earthquakes can do considerable damage to populated areas and to the state's water, transportation, and energy infrastructure. The Central Valley of California is a significant feature of Mediterranean climate California. It was an ancient oceanic inlet that eventually sediment filled in, the deposition supplied by erosion of the surrounding mountain ranges. The soil is composed of both the metamorphic, oceanic crust-like coastal range sediment and the mineral-rich granitic Sierra sediment. The combination creates very fertile soil. The flatness and fertility of the soil, along with the almost year-round sunshine, has attracted much agriculture to the area. As a result, native species no longer dominate the landscape. The southern portion, named the San Joaquin Valley, also produces 2/3 of California's oil from underground reserves. Fossils are found where adjacent tar pits occur. Dominant animal species. The Mediterranean California ecorgan is well known for its large variety and abundance of animals. One of these important animals is the American golden eagle, which plays a massive role in maintaining the ecorgan's ecosystem through its top-down predation on smaller, more abundant animals. The golden eagle is considered to be the apex predator of this community, and there are no other species bigger than them on the food chain. Their lifespan can be up to around 30 years in the wild, and even longer in captivity. Native to mountain areas and grasslands, California is a great region for this bird of prey to thrive in. The main reason for the golden eagle being a keystone species of this ecorgan is their ability to keep small, herbivorous mammal populations in line. Prairie dogs, ground squirrels, other rodents, hares, and rabbits, all of which eat grass and seeds, constitute 77.9% of the golden eagle's diet. They also are known to prey on animals such as cranes, black-tailed jackrabbits, swans, deer, coyotes, badgers, mountain goats, bobcats, and various fish species. Another less popular species, but yet still keystone to this region, is the kangaroo rat. Studies have shown that kangaroo rats play very large roles in maintaining the population sizes and animal diversity throughout the region. Although they are small and on the verge of extinction, these animals play a large role in maintaining plant diversity, which helps the various herbivores with food supply and also protection for other small animals seeking shelter. Kangaroo rats occupy many land habitats ranging from deserts and grasslands to chaparral areas, making them present in all areas of the Mediterranean California ecorgan. Kangaroo rats like to feed on many various grass seeds, as well as mesquite beans, and thus is the reason that plants tend to not grow as well when sharing the same community with these rats. On occasions, though, these animals like to feed on green vegetation and insects. Unfortunately for the rat, though, it is preyed upon by many predators. These predators include owls, snakes, bobcats, foxes, badgers, coyotes, cats and dogs, and many more. Other dominant species in the region include mountain lions, coyotes, sea otters, brown bears, and various large birds of prey. Dominant plant communities. The vegetation in the Mediterranean California ecoregion is a mixture of grasses and shrubs called chaparral with some oak forests as well. This area is very highly populated, and agriculture is prevalent in the valleys. Evergreen trees and shrubs, such as heaths, mainly dominate Mediterranean vegetation with a shrubby to herbaceous understory. Mediterranean vegetation embodies less than 5% of terrestrial ecosystems around the world. A very important aspect of this ecosystem is its frequent wildfires leading to most of its vegetation adapting fire response mechanisms. Villa and Sardins, 1999. Common shrubs within this region are chamise or greasewood Adenostoma fasciculatum, manzanita Arctostaphylos spp, coast sagebrush Artemisia californica, and California lilacs Ceanothus spp. Because the climate is so dry and experiences frequent fires, competition is high among plants within this ecoregion. The Mediterranean community found in Southern California is said to have a successional stage after wildfires. The fire leaves patches of bare ground, which then are quickly filled with newly germinated seeds. Native and introduced herbs persist for the first year following a fire. Shrubs and subshrubs slowly fill in and hit their peak at 4 to 8 years after the fire. Extinctions, unlike many other communities, are frequently the cause of environmental extremes rather than competitive invasive species. Human disturbance can increase wildfires with the introduction of grasses, such as Bromus rubens, which can be readily established in the newly burned, cleared patches. These grasses are more densely compacted and create more fuel for fires. Agricultural grazing can also greatly decrease the chaparral, tangled shrubby brush habitat, which is the home of many native endemic species. Endangered species. An endangered species is a species of organisms, either flora or fauna, which face a very high risk of extinction in approximate time frame, much sooner than the long-term horizon in which species typically persist. There are many species of birds, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and plants that live in the Mediterranean California chaparral and woodlands ecoregion. Yet due to a variety of factors including habitat loss, due to the 30 million humans who share the land, some species are endangered. Endangered, threatened, and vulnerable species of the Mediterranean California chaparral and woodlands ecoregion include fauna: bay checker spot butterfly Euphydrias edithabaensis, California condor, clapper rail, least tern, least Bell's viro, California gnatcatcher, Smith's blue butterfly, several species of kangaroo rat, mission blue butterfly Aricia ichorioides missionensis, salt marsh harvest mouse Sanjoaquin kit fox, blunt-nosed leopard lizard, San Francisco garter snake, Santa Cruz long-toed salamander, tidewater goby, green sea turtle, southern sea otter, and the Guadeloupe fur seal flora, coast redwood Sequoia sempervirens, giant redwood Sequoiadendron giganteum, coastal sage scrub oak, Quercus dumosa, Pitkin marsh lily, Lilium pardalinum subsp., Pitkinense, Santa Cruz cypress, Cupressus abramsiana, Southern California black walnut, Juglans californica. The California condor, Gymnogyps californianus, is one of the most iconic species in the state. With over a 9 feet 2.7 m wingspan, condors are the largest flying land bird in North America. They are opportunistic scavengers that prey on large dead mammals. The main factors that led to the species' endangered status were settlement of the West, shooting, poisoning from lead and DDT, egg collecting, and general habitat degradation. Serious conservation efforts have been made since the 1960s, and this severely endangered species has begun a recovery path. A condor recovery program has been started, and a wild population is steadily growing. Another species is the tiny and secretive Sanjoaquin kit fox, Vulpes macrotes subsp. Mutica is one of the most endangered animals in California. The kit fox is the size of a cat, with big ears, a long bushy tail and furry toes that help to keep it cool in its hot and dry Californian Mediterranean environment. Biologists state that there are fewer than 7,000 Sanjoaquin kit foxes. Sanjoaquin kit fox populations rise and fall with the amount of annual rainfall. More rain means more kit foxes. Changes in precipitation patterns, including reduced rainfall and increased changes of drought, all caused by climate change, would affect Sanjoaquin kit fox populations. The change in the Central Valley from open grasslands to farms, orchards, houses, and roads has most affected Sanjoaquin kit foxes, causing death, illness, injury, difficulty in finding a mate, and difficulty in finding food. These kit foxes also are killed and out-competed for resources by coyotes and red foxes. Another threat is poison used to kill rats and mice. A recent decision by the federal government to limit the use of these poisons outdoors may keep kit foxes safe. Natural resources. Humans have used resources of this ecorgan for many years, dating back to early Native Americans. Some traditional resources that are still used today are in danger of being overharvested. These include the Pacific Ocean fisheries, the dwindling timber industry, the rivers flowing from the mountains, and the grasslands. All of these resources are either being over-harvested or destroyed through agricultural and industrial development. Grasslands hold many native oak trees that are being lost due to overgrazing or forest fires. The overgrazing is attributed to the increasing number of cattle farms, while the forest fires come from the use of natural water for human and agricultural use. As more water is used, oak trees lose out without this key component, and fires increase due to drying out of the grasslands and forests. The government has tried to install conservation programs to halter the increased use of the land and waterways. But more must be done to create a truly sustainable environment. Emerging resources from the region are mainly high-value agricultural crops. These include stone fruits, sugar beets, rice, nuts, grapes, cotton, and specialized cattle systems. Many of these cannot be grown in other parts of the country and thrive in this type of climate. However, because of the dry seasons, these products require large amounts of water as well as varied chemicals and fertilizers to increase production. Many of these farming enterprises are enormous and not sustainable. They leach out chemicals, bring in mass amounts of inputs, and degrade a lot of the land. As with the traditional resources, the government has implemented conservation programs, but only a limited amount. Climate change in the Mediterranean California ecoregion is expected to ultimately have negative effects on the ecosystem and the region's biodiversity. The coast of California is expected to warm by as much as 2 degrees C in the next 50 years. This is going to cause hotter and drier seasons, the normally wet winters, when a majority of the ecosystem's rain received will be drier, and the summers will be especially hotter as well. Increased wildfires will result from the region's warming, mainly in the summer. The shrubbery and trees characteristic of the California chaparral will not fare well in the warmer and increased fire region. Grasses that are able to regrow asexually or from special offshoots will fare the best. Ultimately, the soil quality is going to degrade due to the increased burnings and increased temperatures. Overall, climate change does not bode well for the Mediterranean California ecosystem. Environmental threats to the region. There are several large threats to this region. Many of California's large population centers are located within it, which causes stress on the surrounding environment because people have a desire to move to California. So new homes and industry have to be established in order to accommodate all of the people moving into the region, and this requires expansion. Research shows that this eco-region is already 20% urban environments and 15% agricultural lands. The research also concluded that population density and urban area has increased by 13% between 1990 and 2000, while agricultural lands in the region have only expanded by 1%. The study conducted also showed direct relationships between the growth of the population and the number of species that were threatened in the area. Expansion will break up the contiguous landscape and move humans closer to the native flora and fauna, which will overpressure species that need large open tracts of land to thrive and harm the species diversity of the region. Prevailing winds coming from the west off of the Pacific Ocean, all of the pollution created gets carried up to these higher inland sites and causes the species there to suffer with the pollution generated. The region is also plagued by wildfires. The area is becoming arid. Species diversity will drop as organisms adapted for drier climates thrive. No current management plans are in place. A species refugia to save struggling species that inhabit this region has been proposed by some. Forests similar to these are more resilient to such events due to the spatial arrangement. It would be possible to replicate this in the current forest and make it resilient to the fires that will increase in the near future. Next, we turn softly to Shinji Hashimoto. Shinji Hashimoto. Shinji Hashimoto is a Japanese former game producer at Square Enix and currently senior advisor at Sony Music Entertainment Japan and a board member at ForwardWorks. He served as the Final Fantasy series brand manager for over a decade, was an executive officer at Square Enix Board of Directors, and he was the head of Square Enix's Business Division 3 for 6 years. He is also the co-creator of the Kingdom Hearts series. He served as corporate executive of the company's first production department during its entire existence. In May 2021, Hashimoto announced he would be working in Square Enix Holdings as corporate advisor training future leaders of the company, after he stepped down from his position of executive director and Final Fantasy brand manager at Square Enix Co. Hashimoto retired from his duties at Square Enix on May 31, 2022. On June 16, 2022, Hashimoto announced he would be a senior advisor at Sony Music Entertainment Japan, as well as board member for ForwardWorks. Biography. Early work. Hashimoto previously worked for the toy company Bandai. He joined Squaresoft, later known as Square Enix, in 1995, which is where he spent the rest of his career. Final Fantasy. He was the promotions producer for Final Fantasy VII. When asked at E3 2008 about the possibility of a remake of Final Fantasy VII, he said that Square Enix is aware fans would like that, and that they are very busy making other titles first. As Final Fantasy X2 and Kingdom Hearts were being completed, the learning experience the team had during the compilation of Final Fantasy VII project spawned the Fabula Nova Crystallis series, which was supposed to build on it. Kingdom Hearts, when Square was sharing a building in Tokyo with the Disney Corporation, Hashimoto found himself conversing in an elevator with a Disney executive, and there they conceived the crossover between Square Enix and Disney called Kingdom Hearts. Hashimoto has stated that the new features in Kingdom Hearts II were the result of the success of the first game and Disney's increased trust in Square Enix to pull off an excellent product. Other games while working on Front Mission evolved. One of the challenges was balancing the speed of the real-time battles the Wanzers, or mechs, were having so that the game was realistic to the mech size, but also still fast enough to be engaging. Priorities. While discussing Final Fantasy XIII, Hashimoto mentioned that Square Enix has been attempting to make localization of their game releases close the release gap between Japan and the rest of the world. Next, we turn softly to House of Talleyrand-Périgord. House of Talleyrand-Périgord. The House of Talleyrand-Périgord is an ancient French noble house. A well-known member of this family was Charles Maurice de Talleyrand-Périgord, who achieved distinction as a French statesman and diplomat. The family name became extinct in 2003 upon the death of Violette de Talleyrand-Périgord. Origins: a cadet branch of the family of sovereign counts of Périgord. They took their name from the estate of Périgord owned by these counts, and date back to Boso I, Count of La Marche. The first to have borne this name was Haley de Talleyrand, who lived around 1100. Their motto was Requied Dieu. Their ancestor was one of the great men of the Kingdom of France and participated in the election of Hugh Capet as King of France. An anecdote reports that Capet asked Bosson mais qui donc t'as fait compte, but who then made you a count? To which he replied, ceux la même qui t'ont fait roi, the same ones who made you king. The Périgords considered their entitlements to emanate from the same power that entitled the French kings themselves to govern, divine right of civil authority being a cornerstone of most Christian doctrine emanating from the Bible since the earliest days. Notable family members Haley de Talleyrand-Périgord, a cardinal and bishop of Auxerre Henry de Talleyrand-Périgord, Count of Chalais Alexander Angélique de Talleyrand-Périgord, a cardinal and archbishop of Paris Charles Maurice de Talleyrand-Périgord, Prince of Bénévent and later Prince of Talleyrand Haley de Talleyrand-Périgord, Duc de Sagan, Prince and Duke of Sagan First Branch Augustin Marie Elie Charles, Duc de Périgord ex Marie de Choiseul-Praslin, Elie Roger Louis, Prince de Chalais ex Elodie de Beauvilliers de Saint-Aignan, d. 1835, Paul Adalbert René, Comte de Périgord ex Amicie Rousseau de Saint-Aignan, d. 1854, Cécile Marie 08, 01, 1854 to 11, 12, 1890 Apau x 10, 05, 1873 Gaston Marquis de Brassac, Prince de Béarn. Source dates: Page de garde du formulaire de prières de la princesse Cécile Blanche. Source: Item, Henry Prince de Béarn et autres. Voir Second Branch Alexander Edmond, Second Duc de Talleyrand ex Dorothée de Curland, Duchesse de Dino, Duchesse de Sagan Napoleon Louis, Third Duc de Talleyrand ex Anne-Louise Alix de Montmorency, Caroline Valentine ex Vicomte Charles Henry d'Echegoyen Charles Guillaume Frédéric Bosson, Duc de Sagan, Fourth Duc de Talleyrand ex Anne Alexandrine Jean Marguerite Salière Marie Pierre Camille Louis Haley, Prince et Duc de Sagan ex Anna Good Howard, Duc de Sagan Helen Violet ex Comte James de Portales ex Gaston Paluski, Paul Louis Marie Archambault Bosson, Duc de Valençay ex 1. Helen Stuyvesant Morton ex 2. Sylvia Victoria Rodriguez de Rivas de Castelleja de Guzman ex 3. Antoinette Marie Josephine Morel Marie Pauline Yolande Nicolas Rael Adalbert, Duc de Montmorency ex Ida Marie Carmen Aguado, Y. Macdonald Napoleon Louis Eugene Alexander and Emmanuel ex 1. Marie Josephine Henriette de Rohan Chabot, Sea House of Rohan Chabot, ex 2. Cecilia, née Ulman Blumenthal ex 3. Gabrielida née Lefevre, Grangian ex Rachel Elizabeth Pauline de Castellane, Sea House of Castellane Marie Dorothée Louise Valençay ex 1. Charles Egon Roman IV, Prince of Fürstenberg ex 2. Jean de Castellane, Sea House of Castellane, Alexander Edmond, 3rd Duc de Dino, Marquis de Talleyrand ex Marie Valentine Josephine de Saint-Aldegond Clémentine Marie Wilhelmine ex Comte Alexander Orlowski, Don't Postérité Charles Maurice Camille, 4th Duc de Dino, 2nd Marquis de Talleyrand ex 1. Elizabeth Beers Curtis Pauline Marie Palma ex Mario Ruspoli, 2nd Prince of Poggio Suessa, Don't Postérité Elizabeth Alexandrine Florence ex Comte Hans Dopperstorff, Don't Postérité Archambaud Anatole Paul, 3rd Marquis de Talleyrand, ex Marie de Gontaut Bayern Anne Helene ex Edouard Dreyfus y Gonzalez, Comte, then Duc de Premio Real Don't Postérité Félicie, ex Louis Dreyfus y Gonzalez, Marquis de Villahermosa Don't Postérité Haley, 4th Marquis de Talleyrand, 7th Duc de Talleyrand et Dino, 6th Duc de Sagan 20 Mar 1968. Ex Lela Emery Alexander. Comte de Talleyrand ex Anne-Marie Herr sans postérité Joséphine Paulin. Disputed paternity. Ex Henry de Castellane. See House of Castellane 3rd Branch Auguste d. 1832. Comte de Talleyrand-Périgord. Peer of France ex Caroline d'Argy d. 1847. Louis Marie. Comte de Talleyrand-Périgord ex Stéphanie de Pomereux ex Marie Thérèse de Brosson. Ernest ex Marie-Louise Lepelletier de Morfontaine, Marie-Louise Marguerite ex Prince Henry de Ligne Alexander Daniel. Baron de Talleyrand-Périgord. Peer of France ex Charlotte Elizabeth Alex Sarah. Illegitimate daughter of Prince Charles Maurice de Talleyrand-Périgord and Mme Grand. Charles Angélique, Baron de Talleyrand-Périgord. Senator ex Vera de Bernardaki, Marie Marguerite. Marie Thérèse ex Jean Stanley of Huggerston Hall Louis Alexis. Adalbert ex Marguerite Evelyn de Bayville Charlotte Louise. Marie Therese Charlotte Louise Marie Adalbert. That is all for tonight. Let the silence settle in. Sleep well.